Joining me for a discussion, Sharda Ogra, Neeru Bhatia and Joy Bhattacharya. I'll start with you, Sharda. How best can you describe this gag order? Do you think it's arrogance? Do you think it's indifference? Or do you think it's, it is a reality, present day reality that we have to face?
It's a present day reality that's taking place in Indian cricket, but it belongs sort of to the Kremlin in the 1980s, where there was no information coming out of it, everything was closed, and there is a hope that everything will go away. And every day we have, apparently on the tour of New Zealand, the reporters who were there were told, don't ask ghar ki baat, as in don't ask ghar ke questions, don't ask questions from back home. So they didn't, or it would get passed on, and it's almost like hoping that those questions will go away. I wonder what's going to happen when Dhoni and Fletcher turn up in Dhaka and they have to give a press conference there, which is part of their agreement. Let's see what happens then.
Okay, as Sharda says, not talking is like as if things are going to disappear. This, see no evil, hear no evil, this kind of attitude that the BCCI. Do you think when you try and avoid a controversy, do they believe that if you're going to avoid it in press conferences, it's just going to disappear?
Yes, it's actually arrogance, and it's a lot of, they're living in a very make-believe world of theirs. That, the media will cover us regardless of, whatever the controversies are. And if we tell them that don't ask these questions, then those questions will never be raised. And, well, to some extent, we've allowed them to believe that, because the media then does nothing. I mean, you have to do your job, you have to go report on those events, but that doesn't stop anywhere. It doesn't stop any of the the news coming out. It never does. So they've never learned. They've never learned from their own past, and they don't seem to look like they're going to learn also in the future.
Okay, lest I'm blamed for being biased, since I'm part of the media, and also two of my other guests, Sharda and Neeru, are part of the media. Let me go across to someone who's not. Joy. Joy, of course, you've crossed over to the other side. You were part of the media, earlier on in your career. Now you're part of a team management. Tell us, we've seen it in the IPL, and I don't know of too many journalists who complain how players actually end up interacting a little more when they're playing the IPL vis-a-vis when they're playing international cricket. How does IPL manage that? And it's not that there aren't controversies in the IPL.
I think all of them, everyone has the same challenge, and I think the IPL is just an easier tournament, because the two things that do happen during a T20 tournament is things change very fast. So it's on the go, it's happening, and something rises up, you win a match, you lose a match, in 2 days things could change. So I think one particular advantage it has is it's a shorter format tournament. And really the truth of it is that, when you're talking to players, everyone has situations where, they don't want to take unpleasant questions. But it's also a matter of asking the right questions, and I don't think the press has always also been fair. So if you ask my opinion, I think it's both sides of the story. There's been irresponsible writing also, and there have been attempts to hush up matters hoping it'll go away. I don't think it's on either one side, it's very strongly biased.
Okay,
I think both sides have problems and both sides need to address it.
Right, Joy, you raise a point, okay, and in fact, we've got that on our graphic as well. Is the media to be blamed? That's something that we preempted before we started doing this discussion. Sharda, to you, do you think that the Indian media loves controversies, and that's one reason that we've reached the situation that we have?
I think news is not sort of good news. I just read a quote by Edward Murrow, the American newscaster, which said that you can't produce good news out of bad practice. This is a bad practice. You're not going to get good news out of it. What happened in the IPL is bad practice. When something bad happens, you're not going to get good, happy, positive, happy, shiny, smiley news about it. That's life. That's what the media's job is. To ask the tough question. We are not here, we are not the fans, we are people whose job is to ask them the tough questions. And to be fair, Nikhil, generations of captains have gone by and tolerated this, maybe with not as much electronic media as there is now, but certainly in the past, they've had a lot of questions put to them, which they didn't like, which they were unhappy with, but they got over it, they answered it and they moved on. Right. Just one more thing I want to say is that in an interview that Anil Kumble did very recently with Cricinfo, they asked him what does the BCCI need, and he said they need a PR agency to look after them, which they certainly do, because their PR is atrocious. Right. And this is the time that someone that has to step in to be able to take control of a situation like this.